Okay, today, July the 27th, are you excited? Well, let me say year 2022. Are you excited to be a witness to the transformation that this world is going through? I know I am. I am thrilled beyond, thrilled beyond words to be able to be a witness to what is happening, not only on this planet, but individually, because we are a collective of individuals. So as within, so without. The more people who wake up within and acknowledge the truth of who we are, divine beings, the more we show up in the world as those divine beings. As we come inside, remember that we're eternal, the less petty we are about the external things, the more we drop our fears, the more we unplug from attachment to externals. Once we get to the place that we recognize that everything in the outer world is there because it's a desire of the non-physical self to have that experience, everything begins to change, because then the conversation that we have is within ourselves. What is it that I prefer to experience? All right, I experience bondage. I don't want that anymore. I want to be totally free to do whatever I want to do. I've experienced low density. I've experienced sickness. I've experienced it just not being able to do whatever it is that a healthy body does. Been there, done that, done with that. What do I prefer instead? I prefer to access the well-being that is possible for me. I prefer to have a body that is absolutely, totally, completely operating optimally. Well, if I want this, I cannot continue to let this be real. If I want to experience all that God has given me to experience, then I must commit to only that. The time is now where those who have had, as we have, that keep coming and joining our Patreon community, those of us who have had decades to prepare, it's not a choice anymore. There is no choice between 3D and 5D. There is only the deliberate commitment to do what it is that needs to be done to have that experience. Because once the mind is clear that that is possible, then all of our words, our deeds, our actions must align. We must be intentional about that being the only thing that we give our attention to. So for us, those of you who are here with me today and are part of this group today in July 27, 2022, I can assure you, you know this is all you desire. For the majority of the planet, they're beginning to wake up to realize, you mean I can have this instead of this? And it's startling. It's very startling to realize that we have been the creators of our own reality, that we have been creating the circumstances that give us the experience of being in bondage. We have been creating with our ego mind by blocking this. Because see, we are not learning to be the truth of who we are. We are remembering the truth of who we are, and what we learned that blocked it falls away. So we are in a really beautiful, beautiful place where once you realize there is no becoming anything else, we are already the absolute magnificent children of the creative source. Actually, at some point, we drop this whole conversation that we're the children of the creative source. We accept, as Jesus taught us, we and the Father are one. I am God and God is me. I am that. There is nothing else to say. There's nothing else to prove. There is only a being that. And once the mind has been restored to its natural state, without all of the blocks, without all of the layers that we learned, once we know that what we learned is not really what we are, then there is a very clear letting go of that, the childish. Is very childish, is very immature. It's a stage of development that we are done with. We then fully embody what we are, who we are, as we are, and express that fully. Humanity is just now in big numbers learning that we have this choice, but we don't discover this choice until we have a break in the old, until we hit the rock bottom, until we have enough, we are done with what that has been all about. Humanity is on the verge as a collective to be done with the insanity of the world that the ego made, because the ego leads everything to a dead end. Once you know everything is a trap, that's how the ego operates. It's a trap to gather as many people into giving up their power by listening to one who is the most disconnected from their power than anything. And that would be the one, the small group that listens to their ego and believes all of those lies. This is what we would call the Luciferian ego, because it really believes that it is God itself, but it does what it does by blocking God. So the mind has to go through a process of experiences where we are losing what we thought was solid. We are losing what we thought we could count on. And once what we can count on begins to get shaky, that house that got built on sand, spoken of in the Bible, once we see that we have been on sand, we begin to realize, wait a second, I need to reach for something else. Well, when you go that low, the only thing you can reach for is going to be higher. And the only way people are going to be reaching for higher is they have to see examples of what higher looks like. Who is higher? And when you're sinking that low into those levels of fear and stress and concern and anxiety and sheer terror, oh my gosh, I'm losing all of my safety nets. When you are in that place of terror, what feels higher is one who is at peace, one who is happy. And we've been studying for the last many weeks. We started off with the lesson in A Course in Miracles, lesson 100, which stated that our part is essential to God's plan for salvation. So we know, all right, I'm very important in this plan. This plan doesn't work without me working the plan. I have got to figure out, what does God want for me? You cannot acknowledge I and the Father are one until you understand the Father's will. And once you know the Father's will, you go, well, yeah, I want that too. I want to be happy. Well, now you don't need God talking to you. You just begin to experience that which makes you happy. Then you and the Father are one, because God is the creative source that wants to experience everything. And all that God needs to be doing right now, if it needs to be doing anything, is we need to give ourselves permission to remove the blocks to hear what God has been doing all along, activating the desire for happiness, activating the desire for expansion, activating the desire to express itself. So once we have made that clear decision that I only want to accept the part that God gave me, knowing that it is essential, I have to be the change I want to see in the world. The world doesn't change if I don't bring that change to it. So that was lesson 100. Then we went to lesson 101. God wills for me, or let me read it correctly. God's will for me is perfect happiness. So I found out God needs me in the salvation of the world, in the correction of insanity, to move from here to here. God gave me a part to play. So I begin the trajectory to move in the other direction. And how do I know I'm walking the right path? Well, God wants me to be happy. Am I happy to be letting go of the insanity? Heck yeah. Not in the beginning. In the beginning, when all my security is falling apart, that doesn't feel happy to our ego, because our ego has worked so hard to accumulate and gather and have that illusion. Very, very uncomfortable for the ego to let that go. But something inside of us is telling us, keep going, because you know you're moving towards freedom. So an immature mind is clinging like a child, because it's childish, is clinging to the external. Mommy, mommy, daddy, save me, protect me. You take care of me. Well, that stage is part of the journey. The next stage is we begin to become a little bit more independent. I don't know. I'm not going to rely on this. I'm going to begin to search for something to really rely on. And all of us come to the understanding at some point on the journey that there is an intuition that is guiding us, and we begin to listen to that. So we're externally focused, clinging, we begin to come in as we begin to let go. And then we realize when we let go enough of the worldly stuff, we begin to feel this expansiveness, this, oh my gosh, I can create myself anew. You go through the divorce. Wow, I can be anybody that I want. You get fired from the job or you quit the job. Oh, I can do anything I want. I can start the new business I wanted to start. You lose all your money and do your bankruptcy, do whatever it is that you need to do. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, well, what do I want to do now? I took care of myself before. I was able to pay the bills before. I can do it again. But this time I'll do it with a different job. I do it with a different partner, or I do it by myself because I found confidence in me. I don't need to cling to anything. I begin to find myself independently, realizing that what makes us happy is just to be authentic. Then we went to lesson 102 last week, where we talked about, did we do that last week? Let me see. Yes, last week we looked at lesson 102. I share God's will for happiness for me. I share that will. I want happiness for me too. I know God wills it for me. Now I want it. And if that's the way out of the insanity, is for us to get on God's plan, and God plans for us to be happy, then why wouldn't we want that? That's when we are moving further and further away from the insanity and grounding ourselves in the truth of who we are. Once we ground ourselves in the truth of who we are, we cannot help but really recognize how much fun and how easier it is to be operating from a space of pure joy. So the next lesson says, God being love is also happiness. That's lesson 103. And for whatever reason, this particular path that we're taking in order, 100, 101, 102, now 103, is probably going to continue. We're probably going to do the next couple of lessons in order because they build on one another. They set a foundation so we can build our house on rock, solid rock. When you know it in your beingness that the creative source is what pulses in you, and you recognize that there's nothing but God in you, that's what you're made of, then all that is left to do is to find what gives you joy. And if worrying about money stresses you, ding, 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 ding. The stressing about money is the block to your awareness that you don't need to be stressing. So at this stage of the journey, the thing that stresses you is just your ego talking to you. Are you going to listen to the ego? That thing that causes your body to get tight and tense, it's the ego talking to you. You don't need to go dig up where did this come from. And sometimes that does come into your conscious awareness and you, oh yeah, I learned this from mom. I learned this from the government. This is what the media taught me. And you gently and easily decide, I don't want to continue to feel anxiety, because the anxiety, the insecurity, the discomfort, the tightness in the body is always, always, always the result of a thought that we're thinking. And we cannot always be thinking it consciously. Many times is a subconscious thought, which means you're not aware that you're thinking, you're just experiencing tightness. Well, we have to get clear that all of that tightness is simply the ego giving us a clue. First, the tightness, the fear was so the ego made us run to safety. Let me go find somebody to save me. Now the tightness, the fear is let me get away from that. Let me go back. Let me go to God. I don't want to continue to think that thought. I now want to be listening to only what God wants for me. So there is a point on this journey where it dawns on us that if we are not feeling happy, it's because we are thinking an unhappy feeling thought. There's nothing external at this point. Everything is totally internal. And once we realize that it is God's plan that we be happy, and happiness and love are the same thing, then all we need to do is love ourselves enough for having had the courage from a non-physical plane to come in to have this physical reality. We've been there, done that. It was an adventure. Haven't you been to lots of places in your travels over the years where you went somewhere and you went, I'm glad I came here and saw it, but I don't want to come back. Well, that's what the 3D world that the ego created, that's what it is. It's a planet we don't want to come back to. It's an insanity we don't want to come back to. What do we want? We want a new world. We want to have a world that is created, co-created with those who are clear that not only are we equal, but we are eternal beings, so we have eternal life. We are created free. We want total, complete liberty to be ourselves, so we can be our happy selves, because that is how God created us, because happiness and love are the same thing. If you love yourself, you don't put yourself in bondage. If you love yourself, you're only going to do what feels good, and what feels good is part of what makes you happy. So when all of that begins to make sense and you have an anxious thought, snap out of it. I mean, like, stop it, shift and lift, find the higher vibing thought. You're focused on, oh, there's lack, there's not enough. What am I going to do? Wait a second. This is an abundant universe. God, I'm entitled to the miracles. You begin to speak with authority, the authority that has been given to us by the Creator that lives within us. So the creative source in us is the ultimate authority. We have access to it. It's closer to us than our own breath. It's closer to us than our own skin, because it's what makes the skin. That's the big stretch, is cultivating a relationship from a place not only of self-worth, but of knowing that there's nothing else that can possibly be more powerful, more magnificent, more stupendous, more delicious than you accepting that you and God are one. And so is everybody else. From this place, we go forward, as the Course in Miracles says, with mighty companions, beings that know the truth of who we are. And then when people who are confident, who are creators, come together, there's no back talking, there's no jealousy, there's no hierarchy, there's nothing but collaboration and cooperation, because you're doing it for the greater good of all, because it's joyful to love others as yourself. When all of that registers with us in a way that makes absolute, not only perfect sense in the head, but you know that that's the only way that the heart is going to function properly, because the heart can only extend love when the head isn't blocking it. So those thoughts in our mind that our ego blocked us to the awareness of the love inside of us, so we went to look for love in all the wrong places. We went outside of ourselves. Now, when we come inside, we know the truth of who we are. We know we're part of God's plan for salvation. We know that God gave us one purpose. We know that His will, her will, its will, because it is truly, it's not male, female. It's all of it. It's the masculine, the feminine. It's all of it in oneness, collaborating, co-creating, absolutely whole, perfect, complete. Once we accept that that is what we're made of, it's what we're made with, then we get to realize, wow, so I got to love myself in order to be happy? Yeah. There's no other way to experience total happiness than to love yourself. And we got to get past these crazy beliefs that, well, if I'm happy and I'm loving myself, people are going to think I'm self-centered. Okay, let them think that. And it's not the self-centered of the ego, because yes, the ego loves to be selfish and self-centered. This is the centering within our higher self, This is the coming so deep inside of us that we sit at the center of our soul. And from that place, we are absolutely clear, certain, confident, absolutely inner driven, that we are sitting at the place where we can hear what's next for us, because the voice that speaks and guides is within. And when it says go here, you go. And when it says call that one, you call them. And when it says let's eat this, you eat it. When it says don't do that, you don't. And you become so comfortable with that inner voice that no matter what the outer world wants to do to you, it won't faze you, because the outer world will have no power over us. This is what Jesus taught us. We don't all have to be crucified on a cross, but we all need to crucify the old self that likes to be on a cross, that loves to suffer, that loves the whole victim bully game. That game is what we're not playing in anymore. Martin Luther King Jr. was an example. Everything that he spoke about was about equality, equality, equality. How many times do we need to hear the same message 2,000 years later? We got Jesus, we got Martin telling us the same thing. How many more times do we need to understand that loving our neighbor as ourself is the trick? That's it. There's just nothing else. But I know it's a long journey. I know it's a journey that takes an incredible amount of time, and it's okay. We take however long we take to get to where we're headed. And the journey is what is so delicious when you have your eyes wide open, when you are clear that we're moving little by little, being called together synchronistically, because vibrationally we are being pulled and brought to those who are vibing at the same frequency. And all that is going to happen there is we are going to be so happy to take care of one another unconditionally. The systems are now in place. There are doctors who have pulled out of the 3D world, and they want to heal. They want to bring healing to the world in a totally different way. It's not about the money for them. It's not about the writing papers and peer reviewed by peers who don't listen to the inner voice, who listen to external authorities, and they have made money their authority. So we've got attorneys who are pulling us out of the laws that were written to confine humanity into natural law, God's law. We've got teachers who don't want to teach what they were told to teach, made up history that serves some and hurts others. They want to teach from inside. They want to draw from the child that which is natural in them. We've had those teachers already. Maria Montessori created the Montessori school because she understood that. There are others who've been doing that, but we were not focused on them because we thought they were fringe. They were, the minority doing that. Well, yeah, they were the minority, but now there is a majority, and we are part of that. We have the politicians who want to serve as servant leaders to bring about what is for the collective greater good. We have those parents who want to be conscious parents, the grandparents who are grandparenting consciously. We've got the friends who are unconditionally there with us. We've got the communities that are not just spiritual or religious, but rather speak to the truth of who we are. All of that is now alive and well and can be found if we just choose to look in the right places. We were looking in the wrong places because we had blinders on, but we've been dropping the blinders and looking where the truth is. And the truth is that we are going to be creating a new earth based on what's inside. We are projecting a happy place, a transparent place, a healthy place. We want that out there, and it's happening out there because we become happy, healthy, abundant beings in here. When there is no lack, and when we don't have stories of lack, we live in a world of abundance. When we believe that we are less than, we live in a world where we got to get it. We got to get it from somebody else. And once we get it, we got to protect it because somebody else could take it from us. That world is falling apart. Good riddance to the world that the ego created. I'm glad that I was there. I'm so grateful for my 40 years in it. It showed me the contrast that I so needed to be very clear. This is what I prefer. Absolutely grateful for everything that I experienced in that world. And I'm sure I was in lower realms of consciousness in previous lives. Without a doubt, I know that. But I am so glad that I've been able to move through the ladder of consciousness and return to the truth of who I am. Because once you return to the truth of who you are, there's no more seeking. There's no more achieving. There's no higher place to go than once you remember you and God are one. And God being love is also happiness. Lesson 103. God being love is also happiness. In that place, there is no way you're going to do anything in the world except to be the light of the world. Your happy, joyful, peaceful, free-spirited self will set the standard that those who are waking up are going to look at and go, wow, I want to be that peaceful. I want to be that free. Because as the bondage gets deeper and harder and denser, as that noose gets tighter around those who are believing that they're going to be saved by something external, they want freedom more than ever. They want peace more than ever, because those are the things that they're most lacking. And we tend to want what we don't have. We will just be examples of, we used to be there too. And we realized that we didn't have to go get it. We just had to remove the obstacles to it. And then if they ask, and they will, many will ask, then we share. And many of us are going to share from A Course in Miracles, or our favorite books, the 4 Agreements, or we'll share the Way of Mastery, or we'll share Eckhart Tolle's work, or Michael Singer's work, or we'll send them to the Bhagavad Gita, or we'll even point to beautiful things in the Bible or the Quran. There are so many teachings that all speak the truth, but only a mind that has been cleansed enough, has been transformed enough, so the heart can open and begin to feel the truth of who we are. Only one who has become wholehearted, aligned, head and heart, that lives that, can actually be the perfect teacher of that, because we are teaching what we have committed to embody the most. So God being love is also happiness. Lesson 103, let's go to paragraph 1. Happiness is an attribute of love. It cannot be apart from it, nor can it be experienced where love is not. You cannot be truly happy without love. Now, we have been conditioned to believe that happiness was the same thing as pleasure, ego pleasure, where you get something, oh, you get a ring and you're happy, oh, somebody loves me. Well, you thought you were happy, but it doesn't take long for that happiness to wear out, when that ring now becomes a condition that, well, you gave me a ring, so you got to now take care of me. You got to protect me. You got to buy me this. You got to get me that. You got to blah, 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 blah. And the one who gives you the ring, well, I gave you a ring. Now you owe me. You got to do this for me. You better put out. You better do all these things that are expected of you. So once we understand that real happiness has nothing to do with anything external, it's like a well that is emanating from within us. It's like a geyser that is gushing out from within us. The most appropriate word to match happiness would probably be the word joy. Because the word happiness, you know, what McDonald's tells you, you know, that it's happiness, that if you have McDonald's, you're going to be happy. I mean, we've all bought into that. So our mind has been conditioned to think nonsense. So we got to clean all that out. True happiness is tapping into the truth of who we are. And from that place, you go, wow, I chose to come to this planet. I am here on vacation. Let me only do the things that are fun. Instead of going to the places that are not fun, you've been there, done that. Let me just get the itinerary out. What fun things do I want to do? And where does the itinerary exist in your heart? It tells you, let's go to the mountains. Let's start a new business. Let's start a book club. Let's go plant a garden. Let me call my granddaughter. Let me go, you know, have fun serving in the soup kitchen. Your heart will tell you that is where you get the guidance for how to live on this vacation called planet Earth in the most joyful, fun, and easy way. So we've got to get very clear that for us to be able to experience happiness, which is an attribute of love, we need to understand that it's already inside. It cannot be apart from it, nor can it be experienced where love is not. Stop looking for love outside of yourself and clean up what you thought love was. I used to think that love was somebody taking care of me because mom and dad took care of me. I used to think love was my husband taking care of me because, well, knight in shining armor, that's what they're supposed to do for the damsel in distress. I didn't know that I grew up most of my life thinking I was a damsel in distress. I'm no freaking damsel in distress. I am a whole perfect child of God. I'm a whole perfect presence of God. There's no distress at all there. So we've got to clean up our mind from the nonsense that's been programmed into us. It goes on to say, love has no limits, being everywhere. What that means is if love is everywhere, then we need to begin to acknowledge the love in each and every one of us. We begin to go hug the tree and feel the tree. It's love. So are we taking care of the planet? Go feel the water. It's pure love. Are we ensuring that it is clean? Go take a breath and know that it is love. Are we making sure that our air is not polluted? When we begin to really realize, oh my God, love is everywhere. Why have I not been present to the goodness that is here? Is because we got conditioned into giving our power away. Somebody told us, oh, we'll form the EPA and we'll form the FDA and we'll form all these other things to take care of those things. You don't have to worry your pretty little head. Just send us your money and we'll do it for you. And when we begin to realize, what? I have been working my butt off, sending taxes to groups that are supposed to take care of things, but they're actually not. Then with our eyes wide open, we forgive ourselves for having participated in nonsense, but it was fun. It was fun. We did what we did. Oh, I got a dog that wants to get in. Let me let her in. Hold on a second. She's going to push that door. Boom, if I don't let her in. Yes, girl, go sit down. So we have the opportunity right here, right now, to begin to recognize that the only thing that is going to save this world is for us to be part of God's plan for salvation. Come to know who you are, unplug from the matrix, take your power back. And once you're grounded in what it is that you are going to be guided to what it is that you're supposed to do that continues to serve everybody. And once you know love is everywhere and everybody is love, then you know that anybody who is not behaving according to the laws of God, they're calling for us to love them. They're calling to be reminded, to come back to the light, to come out of the darkness. And we don't have to go hit them with a stick and say, hey, wake up. We just live our happy lives right now and become a beacon, because love radiates a frequency that is absolutely more powerful than any, what do you call those things, pheromones or whatever that stimulates, sexual energy, and people attract each other through that. When you are the light of the world, everything like a moth to a flame, like, whatever you call those bugs that go to the light, is going to be moving, looking for the light, because the light is the only thing that's going to feel good. So it says, and therefore, because love has no limits and it's everywhere, and therefore joy is everywhere as well. Joy, as we have been talking for a long time, joy is the ability to enjoy what is. Just be present, enjoy that you have the awareness, that you can see through what is happening. You have the eyes to see, the ears to hear what is happening. Enjoy that that's where you are. And it's not about joy being, crazy pleasure like the ego wanted us to have. It's a deep enjoyment that everybody is on this planet because we all wanted to go here to have, or come here to have the same vacation. We left our beautiful place of non-physicality to have an experience. We came on vacation, but we are all going to go home like we leave and return home from a vacation. And then we know, I don't want to go back there. I mean, I've been to Disney World once, twice, maybe more than that. I'm never going back there. I mean, I'm done with that. I'm not going to call it bad. I'm not going to put up billboards and say how terrible it is. I'm not going to do that with the 3D world. I'm just going to be clear. I'm not going there again. But I need to be the one who helps co-create the new earth that I do want to be a part of. And therefore, joy is everywhere as well. Amazing. Because if love is joy and joy is love, all of that is everywhere. Yet, can the mind deny that this is so, believing there are gaps in love where sin can enter, bringing pain instead of joy? This is why we need to take hold of every single belief and sort it out. Thoughts that make you feel bad, body never lies. Body never lies. When you feel the tightness, you know you're believing a lie. That's how the body doesn't lie. It is the identifier of lies through the tension, the tightness that you feel. But who's telling the lie? You are to yourself. If I'm tight and tense, it's not because of what you said, it's because of what I believe about what you said. If I'm tight and tense, it's not because of what the government did, it's because of what I'm believing in relationship to the government. If I'm scared, I'm not going to be taken care of. It's because I'm believing I'm not powerful to take care of myself. It's not because they're not taking care of me. So the tightness and the tension is an indicator of our own BS in our head. So check your belief system, sort them out, figure out what serves and what doesn't. What is of truth, you will always feel happy. You will be enjoying your life. There will be no discontent with what you're doing because it'll be guided from within. So sentence 7 says that this strange belief would limit happiness by redefining love is limited and introducing opposition in what has no limit and no opposite. Let me read the line before that so that these two can go together. Yet, can the mind deny that love and joy are everywhere, believing that there are gaps in love where sin, untruths, that's what sin is, obstacles can enter, bringing pain instead of joy? This strange belief would limit happiness by redefining love as limited and introducing opposition in what has no limit and no opposite. So, bottom line, we need to be vigilant. We grew up believing in conditional love. We have to clean up all of that by having lots of experiences with lots of different relationships. Until you love everybody the same, you do not know love, because everybody is a reflection of you. We are all children of the same creative source. We're all one. Everybody has God inside of them. What is there not to love? So when you can be the same in every relationship, when every single relationship is experienced from your inner being, acknowledging that you're in the presence of God, all relationships are opportunities for love, because love is everywhere. But when we decide, well, I can love this one, but not that one, or I can love my partner, but I can't love my sister. Look at the mean thing she did to me. I can love this beautiful president, but not that one. When we are still in that place of I can here, but not there, we haven't fully arrived at the place within us that knows love has no limits. And that is, I know, a challenging part of the journey, but that is the journey of mastery. We have to master being the presence of love on the planet. We have to master fully opening the heart to the point that you can be intimately in love with every single being. And when I say intimate, I'm not saying sexually intimate with everybody. That is going to be, individual, and that's going to be with who you're called to be physically with. But intimately means that you and them see into each other because there are no blocks, no obstacles. That means you're transparent. That means that whatever you say to this one, you're saying to the other one. If you tell a story here about something that happened, it's going to be exactly over here, because there are no lies, there are no blocks, there are no barriers, there are no secrets held within. So until love is what you feel for everybody and everything equally, You haven't come to the place that you understand God being love is also happiness, because you will feel you can't be happy with this one because you don't love them as much. Well, you can't be happy there because you're believing you don't love them because you've been conditioned that these are the things that they're not meeting, therefore they don't deserve your love. All that integrity, honesty. I'm talking about work that can take a while. So be gentle with yourself. But yes, if there is anything that you are not loving, anyone that you are not loving, withholding even a little bit of love, when you get around them and you get tight and tense, what's that? It's a thought that you're thinking about them. And it makes your ego go superior or inferior. Get honest with yourself, because once you get honest with yourself and you clean that up, you'll be honest with everybody else. That's what's so magical about this. Paragraph 2 says, fear is associated then with love, and its results become the heritage of minds that think what they have made is real. We were taught to fear strangers. Don't talk to strangers. We were taught to fear the boogeyman. We were taught to fear people of this color, people of that culture, people of this height, people of that financial status, people of that religion. The mind was trained into believing things. That's why it's a belief system. You're believing things that somebody taught you, but they're not natural. If they don't come from within you, from God, then they're made up from without you. And we need to sort out those differences. Because we were taught conditional love, we fear love. And when somebody's being loving towards us, we're like, well, what do you want from me? Or if they're feeling loving towards us, what else can I get from you? So we've got to get super, super honest that we've got to clean up those beliefs, because the mind, as it says here, fear is associated with love, and its results become the heritage of minds. That means the mind continues to create and make a reality of these unloving thoughts that turn into unloving people populating our lives. So that world that we don't like, that is out there, that is a 3D world that we're done with, is populated by people that don't understand the truth of this. So they're operating in that unloving way. How are they going to get out of there? We need to show them another way. We need to be so happy, so joyful, following God's plan for salvation, showing them what it looks like to be free. Then they have a visual, and they'll be like ships in a storm where it's really dark and treacherous. And we're like lighthouses standing here, grounded, secure on the shore. They can find their way out. They will find their way out, because now probably I would say the most desired thing in the whole world is peace. People are scared. They want peace. People are in darkness. They want light. People are suffering. They want well-being. Be that, and they will come. All right, the next sentence says, sentence 2 in paragraph 2. So these images with no reality and truth, the fears that the ego has created, bear witness to the fear of God. Forgetting being love, he must be joy. This basic error we will try again to bring to truth today and teach ourselves. God, being love, is also happiness. To fear him is to be afraid of joy. You know, we've been taught God is up there on a cloud, mad and angry and throwing rocks and fire and brimstone, all those crazy things at us. All that's made up by people, humans, mostly men, who that's how they treated their children. If you don't behave, I'm going to spank you. If you don't do this, you're going to be in timeout. You can't have this. Talk about fire and brimstone, raining fear on their children. So those fathers projected that onto Father God. Why? Because we can only see outside of ourselves what's inside of ourselves. So when you get happy, you realize, oh my God, God is number one. God's not making a list and checking it twice. God is not interested in looking at what we did in the past, because God is only interested in extending the kingdom. And those beings that are happy, God is moving through that to extend the kingdom, to come up with new formulas, new things, to make things bigger, better, and expansive, because God knows it's eternal. It's not concerned about the past. It's only concerned about continuing this now moment to expand. And God is just enjoying working through the beings that allow God to work with them, through them, as them. So if you think that God is busy paying attention to nonsense, you absolutely do not know God. I didn't know God. I thought God was busy making a list and checking it twice like Santa Claus. And to my surprise, when I had my encounter with God and God was like, what? I'm not going to worry about that. That's pettiness. You guys are just playing in your vacation. You guys are just having a, not having a good time. Like when we as children would go on vacation, my mom and dad would take 4 little girls on vacation, and inevitably 2 were always fighting. And whatever those 2 that were fighting, my parents were not busy trying to get those 2 to stop fighting. My parents said, okay, whoever's happy, go with us. And those 2 followed to the next fun thing to do. And the ones who were fighting, they would be left behind. And guess what would happen? It wouldn't take long before, oh, we don't have an audience. Why are we fighting? So funny. It was so predictable. As a parent, I really thought that I needed to go break up the fight. Thank goodness my parents gave me examples. Yes, there were times that they would go and get whoever the 2 were that were taking their turns at fighting, yell at them or whatever. But for the most part, the thing that worked is my parents went off and did something fun. 2 followed, and before we knew it, 3 followed. And when there's only 1 left behind, not having a good time, well, it doesn't take long for you to go, why am I doing this to myself? And that's exactly what we need to reverse in our mind. Those who are being left behind in the darkness eventually are going to go, wait, everybody's over there happy and having a good time. Let me go there as well. And they will follow. It's like that movie. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was with Kevin Costner. And the title, maybe the title of the movie was Build It and They Will Come. Oh, no, the title was Field of Dreams. We are in a field and this is a dream. Build it and they will come. Be the light and those in the dark can see it. So anyhow, here we are. Let me say this to us again. We think that God is a God of fear, God that is angry. It is not. It is our happiest self waiting to be expressed. That's what God is. The place within us that desires to experience joy. That is God wanting to be let out from behind the prison that we have built for God. By blocking the love that we are, we have been blocking the light that we are, put up fences, protective fences from you and others, and lived inside of this insanity of trying to find love in all the wrong places outside of ourselves. So God being love is also happiness. So to fear God is to be afraid of joy. Why are you afraid of being happy? I had to ask myself that question. Why am I afraid of being happy? Well, because if I'm happy, then, well, if I'm happy, I don't get attention from the people who like for me to be miserable, from the people who think that they're saving me and protecting me. And, oh, wait a second. I didn't want to be happy. I was afraid of happiness because then I could manipulate the people who I thought needed to see me as somebody that they needed to take care of. What? It's crazy. It's crazy shit. What happens to our mind? We believe so much insanity and we live it and we see it on TV. We see it in movies. We see it in stories. We act it out so much that we begin to think that that is true, but it's insanity. The next sentence, sentence 6 in paragraph 2, these are lessons. So it says, begin your periods of practicing today with this association, which corrects the false belief that God is fear. You cannot have a God that you fear and at the same time create a relationship with a God that is joy. These are 2 opposing frequencies. This is high-vibing. I don't have time to worry about the people that are doing things, misdeeds, because that's a vacation that that they want to be on. This God is too busy flowing through the few that are allowing God to flow through them. This God that God created, a God of fear, is a projection of our own fearful ego. So when ego tells you that you should fear God, stop listening to that voice. That's the voice that has been lying to us all this time. So our work is to shift from ego and lift into the truth of who God is, what God is, that you and God are one. And your joy, your happiness, they cannot help but be restored once you begin to love yourself enough to not lie to yourself. The next sentence says, sentence 7, it also emphasizes happiness belongs to you because of what God is. When you say to yourself, God being love is also happiness, to fear him is to be afraid of joy. Well, I'm not going to be afraid of joy anymore. And if I'm joyful, that means I'm happy. And if I'm happy, of course, I'm loving my life in that moment. So that's what God is. Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket. That's what God is. And once you are embodying the truth of the essence of what you really are, and you become that, because you can't help but just, it's going to come out of you. It's going to flow through you. People are going to see it in your eyes. People are going to see it in your demeanor. You're going to be fun to be around. You're going to be light to be around. Nobody's going to be afraid of you unless they are afraid of their light. And that's okay. Those people who are deep in the trenches of fear are not going to come and look for somebody who is totally, completely happy-go-lucky until they are ready to hit their bottom and say enough. Then they're going to look for the light. They're not going to look to other dark people. They'll be done with darkness. That's why alcoholics don't look for other people who are drinking to help them. They look for those who've been there, done that, and are now sober because they can show them the way. Those in the darkness are looking for those in the light when they are ready. We can't make anybody do anything. Thankfully, this world has reached the lowest that it can possibly go. And now what is happening is all that was low, it's not going to get nobody can do any darker deeds than they've done, but all those dark deeds are coming to the surface. And because we were denying that that was happening, it's going to feel overwhelming. All those things were happening around us. We were funding all of these treacherous things. Yeah, we were, because that's where we went on vacation, that we went to Crazy Planet. And that's what has happened here. So now it's time to leave your bags behind. You don't want to take anything from Crazy Planet. Open yourself up, lighten up, and allow more of the truth to flow through you to raise you into the higher frequencies. All right, paragraph 3. Allow this one correction, that God is love, and being love it's happiness. And that's where that's what joy is all about. And joy that you know the truth. Allow this one correction to be placed within your mind each waking hour. You got to tell yourself over and over and over again, God is love, God is happiness, that God is joy. I'm here, connected to the source of all that is possible. Let me align with the expansion of God's creation instead of participating in it's devolving. What the ego created is collapsing in and of itself. Pretty soon, there's going to be very few people left that are going to be buying into that. But they can go there if they want to. That is absolutely possible. At some point, there's going to be very few people going to Disney World, as I didn't like it. And at that point, when you're done, you don't go. And I'm not just saying this about Disney World in general. I'm just saying this about Disney World as a destination. Think of planet Earth as a destination. When you're done, been there, you're bored with that. It shows you the way it operates. You don't want to come back there, because we have free will, by the way. We've always been free, but we were pretending to not be free because we were listening to the lies in our head instead of to the truth in our heart. You begin to listen to the truth in our heart, the scales begin to fall away. Then sentence 2, then welcome all the happiness it brings as truth replaces fear, and joy becomes what you expect to take the place of pain. This is very active. Your body gets tight and tense, body doesn't like, why am I creating my own pain? Oh, I'm thinking a thought that's blocking truth. Integrity, honesty within yourself. You got fear? Stop thinking the fearful thought. You got anxiety? Stop thinking the thoughts that activate anxiety. You've got concerns? Stop thinking the thoughts that make you doubtful. Think the thoughts that bring you certainty. Think the thoughts. Allow yourself to connect to God. God, what would you have me do? I want something fresh and new because I can't keep doing the same old thing, expecting different results. When we wake up, we know that to think with the ego is always going to give you the same thing. The ego cannot give you anything other than what it knows, and it only knows density. It only knows suffering because the ego is a block to God, which means it is contracted. It is in a circle. It is inside of a prison. Everything that is of God has to come out and move beyond those walls that we have created with our mind, created within our mind. Then it goes on to say, sentence 3, God being love, it will be given you. It will be given to each and every one of us. Why? Because it's already in us. Logic has to play a part in here. We have to activate the place of reason. If I know God is love and God is in me, then I must be love. Yeah, that it's that simple. A child knows that. A child is just being their loving little self until they learn not to, when they learn conditional love. So we've got to return to being like we were as little children before we picked up the conditioning, and we are removing the conditioning. Bolster this expectation frequently throughout the day and quiet all your fears with this assurance, kind and wholly true. God being love is also happiness, and it is happiness I seek today. I cannot fail because I seek the truth. Oh my gosh. Let me repeat this. You may want to just close your eyes and take these words. I'll read them slowly. God, being love, is also happiness. And it is happiness I seek today. I cannot fail because I seek the truth. The truth is that God is in you. The truth is that the happiness, the love, the joy you've ever wanted is within you, waiting to blossom. But it cannot blossom until you get your ego out of the way. It's just not possible to experience high frequency while you continue to make low frequency your truth. Until low frequency is seen as nothing but a place that you're visiting. And you leave that place by no longer accepting its power over you, then you really will be feeling the truth that has been true always, is the truth that sets us free. We've always been free to put ourselves in bondage. It's okay. It's how we learn we don't want to be there anymore. Now that we know we don't want to be there anymore with the contrast, then pick what you do want. But you cannot experience what you want consistently while you point at what you don't want. That's why bashing the old will never help you establish the new. The new is established by those courageous beings who are doing the new. They don't need permission from anybody else. You know, with this whole COVID game that's been happening around the world, we had several doctors. They weren't busy bashing the old. They were establishing the new. They were creating, using the protocols that they knew worked, and they were busy curing people. And they were creating the products that are the products that I use. And they were busy doing the thing that gave them the joy of helping people. They weren't trying to go tell people you're stupid for not listening, or you're, terrible for not doing your part. They were just here, and they were being heard. When they got a platform, they got to speak. And then the rest of the people got to go, well, that kind of makes sense. And then flock to them. They were not beating up on the old. They were stating what they saw, but they weren't trying to take it down. They were building up. This is why we have to be the change we want to see in the world. We have to give ourselves permission to really seek the truth and let the truth set us free. And where are you going to seek the truth? Well, Course in Miracles is one of those teachings. The Bhagavad Gita is another one of those teachings. The Gita has been around for 4,000 or 5,000 years in the Hindu teachings. The Course in Miracles has been around, for 60 years now, 70 years. Not that long, but long enough to help us wake up. And the Course in Miracles is filled with examples, is filled with very, very specific information to help you see the ego and transcend it. Unlike anything that I've ever seen. The Bhagavad Gita doesn't give you the specifics on the ego, but it tells you that you have the voice of God that you can listen to. You've got the voice of Creator that you can listen to, the voice of love that you can listen to. I am just so grateful to have shared this lesson with you today, because it's definitely what my soul needed to hear. So let's open this up. I want to hear from you. And if you love this, share with others what we've got going on here in this Patreon community so that they can join us at Laina Orlando in patreon.com and come and go into the deeper parts of A Course in Miracles, so that together we can elevate our own personal frequency, co-create a community of those who live by truth. And before you know it, we have a new earth. All right, please unmute yourselves. I want to hear from you. Yes, Kat.
Hey. Can someone come into this community who doesn't have much of a background in spirituality?
Absolutely. All that they need to have is a willingness to hear what is being said without judging it, and give it, watch a couple of videos, listen to it. If it resonates, it's for them. If it doesn't resonate, then they're not ready. But everybody has to make that decision on their own.
Yeah.
If being love, if being happy, if being free, if realizing that nothing external has power over us, if that's too much for them to handle, then they will know this is not the right place for them, but they have to make that choice.
Okay. Because I am in a relationship, and he keeps indicating he'd like to know more about, he's spiritual, but not like, he has no training at all in what we're doing.
All I'm going to say is invite him. I mean, it's only $9 a month. So if he doesn't mind $9 to give it a whirl, then tell him to just go watch as many videos as he wants. And if it's not for him, then it's not for him. It's easy to unsubscribe. Super easy.
Okay.
Thank you.
And what I would say, again, this points to the things that I experience. This what's really in me is what's being one with the Creator, which is the big that's my intent, that's what I'm working for. That's my goal. Yet I do find myself experiencing pain. Not pain, that's not the right word, but well, it is, because if I go into any kind of fear or anxiety, that's pain, that's suffering. So I love, again, all this about, so where am I? What is it I want to experience? What is it? Does this make any sense whatsoever at me keeping myself in any kind of discomfort? It doesn't, and I have to. I like this, and I'm gonna do this exercise because it really resonates with me, and I like. I really do like it. So it's always touches me. I mean, that happiness is already inside of us, and that love is everywhere. And I can't say that I love, but I'm really very, very close to that. I mean, I don't hate, I don't have that kind of energy. I just don't. So, and so anyway, my goal in the day is to be happy. So that's it.
Well, Kat, but you are in a perfect place. You've done so much so much work, and it takes a lot of work to get to this place. You've done so much work that it gives you now the opportunity to just do the fine tuning, catch those egoic thoughts, catch where there's a fear, there's a judgment, there's an uncertainty. It's very gentle. Once you're grounded in the depths of yourself, everything is very gentle, because you recognize that you don't want to have that thought disturbing your peace of mind. And every thought is equally as disturbing to our peace of mind, whether it's a big judgment or a little tiny, there's a mosquito bothering me. All of it is equal to the disturbance of, if you're not at peace, you're not at peace. It doesn't matter what is blocking peace.
Yeah.
You're in that perfect place. All you're doing is watching the thoughts in your head. It's no longer anything outside of you. So that is perfect. So continue enjoying, wanting nothing but to stay in that peace, because that's the work now, is remaining here. We were out here before, looking out here, blah, 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 blah. And little by little, we stopped going out there so much, and it was a little crazy, and then a little bipolar. And then we realized, oh my gosh, let me just stay here. And once you just stay where you know the truth resides within, communicating with God. I mean, that's my favorite conversations, is my time with God. And oftentimes, to me, I call God Jesus, because the messages, the words of Jesus just ring true in my mind. So I can have a conversation with Jesus, but I know it's God, because he and God are one. God and I are one. Jesus and I are one. It's all the same. But it's just the word that feels good for me, is God is the source of the energy of love. It even told me to call it that for a while, GESEL, the acronym, GSEL. And God is the source of the energy of love. There is nothing else but that love. Jesus showed us. I could call it Martin. I could call it Martin Luther King Jr. if I wanted to. It's all the same thing. All the same thing. So that commitment to just feel that inside as our truth, that conviction begins to make it super easy that any thought that doesn't vibe at that frequency, there's a thought that's wrong. And it's not their thought that's wrong, it's my thought about that's wrong.
Right.
If it activates any kind of discord. So you're in a beautiful place. So excited that that's your spot. Enjoy it.
Thanks.
So amazing. Yes. Anybody else have anything you want to share?
I have a question. When you were talking about your having the revelation or whatever it was, that it was just a transformational time for you. And then I always think about the biblical Saul on the road to Damascus and became Paul. Is that right? And then I've known several people that have had this miraculous transformation and knowingness that just come over them. Okay. I don't think that's, it could happen to me, but is that necessary? I know it's not necessary. So you just continue on the path that you're on and do what you know to do. And I guess part of me is wishing that I would have this aha moment and everything would be totally clear, but probably not in this lifetime.
Well, so I would say you are limiting yourself there with that belief, and you can if you want to. However, I would say I don't know exactly that story. I know about it, but I'm going to say it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for all of us are transformed from the ego to God, from Saul to Paul. I went from Laina's ego to Laina's soul. That's my soul to Paul. So everybody has that ability. And once you commit to only listening to the voice for God, that is the transformation you give you. And you don't have to wait for another lifetime. And I've witnessed you having many shifts in perception, but because we have been conditioned to read this story or that story or this, it was very ordinary for me. You've had many moments of transcendence. You've had them. But if the ego has you focused that your experiences are not like Paul's or Saul's or Lina's or, Billy Bob's, you're not going to be able to give yourself permission for yours to be as profound. And that's always the work of the ego, because it is in you. You have been on this journey. You have known that this world, that you came to on vacation is crazy since you were a little girl. You and I have had these conversations. So you have had that awareness, which means that there is a knowingness inside of you. And I would say that thinking this happened to somebody else, but not to you, is a block to that awareness of what it is already in you. And let that go and just claim it. Claim it right here. God being love is also happiness. And it is happiness that you seek today. You cannot fail because this is your truth. So don't compare to something else. Just acknowledge the truth that is yours, and you cannot fail. But to feel it in you, you just have to make a decision that that's all you want to feel. And then the work is to keep anything that blocks that feeling away. Don't believe it. Don't go there. You want to start judging? Nope. Come back. You want to start arguing? Nope. Come back. You want to start comparing? Nope. Come back. And you train yourself to come back to center, and you get centered in your truth. Then you have the same experience as Paul. You have the same experience as Laina, the same experience as Jesus. Martin felt it. Everybody who has come within, Eckhart Tolle, whoever it is that you want to follow, Michael Singer, it doesn't matter. All they did, they shifted from ego to God. You've done it, own it, claim it, and then expect more of it.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, how much fun talking truth with you. So exciting. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Oh, it's just so exciting. There's nothing better than having these conversations where we are deliberately not only listening to the truth of A Course in Miracles, but also giving ourselves permission to be teachers and students to one another, because God knows I've learned so much from you, and I know you get to learn so much from me. That's because we're all one, going to the same place that we've never left. Oh, this is a vacation we've all taken, and it's always been in our mind, and yet we rest in our eternalness, exactly where God has us in his imagination, her imagination. How amazing is this? It's all backwards, inside out. It's all crazy. All right, everybody. I'd love you. See you guys Friday, whoever can make it, 3 o'clock. We'll have another Q&A time. And, that just seems to be it works for me. I know it doesn't work for everybody. And I'll add some others during the day when I can. I'm working on my calendar again to do some other things that are a little bit more consistent. I love you all so much. Thank you and have fun. Mwah.
Thank you.
Beautiful day. Love everybody. Love to all.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.